friends, we gather together this morning to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Elaine Hibshman. Elaine's family so very much appreciates your presence here with us this morning. As you undoubtedly know from experiences in your own life, at times that are difficult, the presence of others, family and friends, those who make an effort to come and be with the family, is immeasurable in its impact and consolatory function for the family. So we very much appreciate your being here with us this morning.
Mismor David, Adonai roi lo echsar, minote sheyarbitzeni al me menuchot yanachaleni, nafshi shovev, yanacheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo, gam kirelech begitz al mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamoni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzurirai, dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdifuni kol yamei chayai v'shavati beveit Adonai leorech yamim.
Adonai ma'adam v'teda'ehu ben enosh v'achashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, you mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. The author of the first of the Bible's 150 Psalms describes for us in language that is both poignant and succinct the nature of the good life and the fruits of that life. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor taken the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes. Let us take comfort together now in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kohelet, another name for King Solomon according to our tradition, reminds us in the book of Ecclesiastes that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Folks, how are we to understand a person who, though beset with many illnesses and infirmities for many years, never complains? Complaining, as so much of us know, is so cathartic. Feeling sorry for oneself is so satisfying. Expressing woe is me is so entitling that when we come across a person who, though compromised physically in so many ways and for so many years, but who never complains, we have to wonder just how that person arrived at this life stance. Now, from what I learned about Elaine Hibshman from her family when I spoke with all of you several evenings ago, Elaine was just that kind of person. By nature, so positive. By habit, so unwilling to dwell on things she couldn't change. And by temperament, so grateful for the time, indeed the additional time that she was given. That complaining was never something she allowed herself to indulge in. And I imagine her many vibrant qualities that enriched her life and the lives of others around her redoubled her commitment to live positively and was undoubtedly returned to her by those who loved her and admired her. Indeed, Elaine had the wisdom to know in her bones that life was filled with challenges and that she was resolved to accept them and then to move forward. For Elaine was, and now I quote her family, a warm, loving, thoughtful, loyal, caring, giving person with a radiant smile. And therefore, it is not at all surprising that Elaine was able to develop and sustain deep personal connections with others. She maintained close relationships with a group of high school friends. The group, they named themselves, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, La Giovanetti. This group still talk regularly among themselves and even go away together for 3 days every year. And they consider themselves part of their own extended families. And naturally, when one of the group had a need or experienced a difficulty, Elaine was there to offer a listening ear and a comforting hand. And in turn, her dear friends were there for her during her times of need, while during that time, she comforted them about her own condition, indicating once again that her decline and imminent demise is just a part of life. And true friends accept one another's limitations and flaws while continuing to express their unqualified love. This too was Elaine Hibshman. Indeed, Elaine was a people person, a humanist, we might say. When her children needed something, they knew that their mother was ready to be called on even in the middle of the night. When her daughters were kids, their friends knew that they would be comfortable in Elaine's and John's home. And when these friends heard about Elaine's death, some of them wrote that we always felt welcomed and warm in your home. Your parents were interested in us, interested in what we were doing, and cared about us when we were kids and now that we are adults. And we must recall that when Elaine's first husband, Carmen, became sick soon after they were married, and then hospitalized for almost 3 years before he died, Elaine, as a young woman, then just starting out in her new life, took a bus from Euclid every day to sit at Carmen's bedside, the clinic, and to offer him comfort and love. And later in life, Elaine cultivated a special relationship with all her grandchildren. Now, it is true, Elaine had her fears, and one of them was a fear of flying. But when her first grandchild was born, she took a plane to the West Coast and spent 6 weeks there helping out and laying the foundations for her relationship with that grandchild, as she did with all of her grandchildren. Now, Elaine did, as I've said, had her anxieties, and she felt self-conscious about the inadequacies that she thought she had. And this limited to some degree the scope of her activities. But she always encouraged her own children to let their fears and anxieties, not to let them stop them, but to go ahead and to push through them. Indeed, Elaine knew herself and accepted who she was, but she was also able to understand how these issues to some degree held her back, and she didn't want the same thing for her children. But paradoxically, perhaps, Elaine seemed to have no inhibitions about being on stage in front of people. She loved to sing, she loved to act, and she did so in many ways. She performed in at least 3 of Oakwood's famous shows, and as part of the Entertain-Mobile singing group, she eagerly performed at retirement homes, bringing vitality and wonderful music to the residents. And Elaine, as I was told, did have a beautiful voice. Well, how though, I asked Elaine's family the other night, how do we reconcile Elaine's self-consciousness about being front and center in public on the one hand, and her ease in performing on stage on the other? And the answer? On stage, she didn't have to spell. Elaine is survived by her beloved husband of 53 years, John, and by her children, Rachel and Eric, Rebecca and Mark, and Sarah and Scott. By her grandchildren, Jack, Nate, Lily, Eli, Caleb, Owen, Hunter, and Jake. By her sister, Raydell, and by her son-in-law, Matt. She was predeceased by her parents, Michael and Mary, by her first husband, Carmen, and by her brother-in-law, Les. Life is with people. That was Elaine's way of living, fully and well. She touched the lives of so many people, and she made an indelible impact on all who knew and loved her. We will never forget her. Zichrona livracha. Her memory will always be our blessing. Amen. I now want to call on first Elaine's grandson, Eli, who will reflect on the life and the qualities, the accomplishments of his grandmother.
Hello. So, 2 days ago, I sat at my laptop staring at the intimidating blank screen aptly named Untitled Document, trying to figure out how on earth I could try to convey how much I loved my grandma and how much she meant and I guess still does mean to me. I eventually decided that instead of just repeating the same qualities everyone else loved about her, I would tell you about some memories I have of her. So this first one, I don't fully remember because I was a baby, but my mom has told me the story many times and we thought it'd be a good one to share. So, for those of you that don't know me, I didn't sleep a full night till I was 7 years old. As you could imagine, my parents were perpetually exhausted. And apparently, one time my grandma came all the way to Boston just to help my mom out with me. And she sat with me in a chair in my room, told my mom to just go to sleep, and she just held me. She held me for hours, rocking me and singing to me, and just keeping me entertained until I fell asleep. Now, obviously, I don't remember this considering I was a baby, but it does not surprise me at all. Grandma Elaine has always had these amazing qualities, and she's always been an amazing person. I mean, this just reminds me of 3 of them. Her patience, she didn't move for 5 straight hours. As someone with ADHD, I can't really imagine that. Her kindness, I mean, she's always been such a kind person who's always gone out of her way for others. And the fact that she comforts others, she helped my mom get some sleep. And she also helped me rest, but quite honestly, that's less important than helping my mom because I'm the one who cut my mom up in the first place. This next story, though, I do remember. So I was lucky enough to be able to say goodbye and be with Elaine on her last few days. I helped take care of her a bit while she was sick, and I want to recall a memory of her doing the same for me. So a few years ago, like maybe 4 or 5, I got sick on a trip here to Cleveland, and Grandma was not in her best health at the time, though she was still way better than she had been recently. And despite the fact that if she'd caught it, she'd end up more sick and more uncomfortable than I was, she still kept me company. And I mean, I wouldn't have been offended if she wanted to keep her distance, but unsurprisingly, she put my needs above her own, and she did everything she could to make my being sick as least unpleasant as possible. Luckily, I didn't end up spreading it to her, but this memory just reminds me of how wonderful and caring of a person she was. So, those are a few of my memories with Grandma Elaine, and I want to remember her by all the great things she's done and all the good memories she's given to others. Rest in peace, Grandma. I love you. You said to take one of these. Sorry. Just following instructions. Thank you.
Now I want to call on Elaine's daughter, Rachel.
What did Eli do? Is this on? I don't even know if I can follow my nephew's amazing delivery, but I will try my best. Rabbi Klein took my first story. I shouldn't have shared it with you because I think my family has begged me not to go off script, but I'm going to, mostly because I can't see what I've written. even in my mom's last days, she loved to joke around. And, I was here a couple weeks ago seeing her, and she seemed fine. I actually said to her, well, I don't think you're going to die, so, I'll be back. And she said, well, I might. She was always joking, even in the very final days. And I love that about her. So I'm glad that we can take a minute to laugh. She would really want us to be, smiling today. And thank you all for wearing your bright colors. I know that she would be so touched just to see everyone come, especially during COVID. My mom loved her grandchildren. And the stories that Eli mentioned, of course, could not be more true. And I was going to start quickly by just telling a little story about when my oldest son, Jack, was born. And my mom did come she missed his birth. He was born a couple weeks early, and she came, and she would not leave. And she was scared of a lot of things, and including getting lost. And this was like in 2000, before, Google Maps and all of those kind of things. No problem. She went in the car, and she was gone for hours and hours. And I hope that Matt is watching this live stream. He will remember. He was like, I'm really worried about your mom. Like, where is she? She was gone for like 5 hours. She came back, and she was like, oh my God, I got lost. That was a near-death experience. She had to put herself to bed. But she stayed for another 6 weeks, and she helped so much. So when I was pregnant with my second son, Nate, she was like, I'm not missing that. So she came 2 weeks early, just to be sure. And not only that, but she slept on the couch for those 2 weeks, really. She wanted to be close by just in case anything happened. And when we went to the hospital, I was induced early with Nate. There she was at 7:30 in the morning. She's like, I'm ready, let's go. And she stood in that room with me the whole time. And she did the same for my daughter, Lily. And she kept, I remember my husband, Matt, saying, like, your mom's head's really in the way, I can't see. Because she was like, she just could not get enough. And, this is indicative of her relationship, not only with all her grandchildren, but me and my sisters too. I mean, she was there for us for every step of the way. And the middle of the night phone calls that the rabbi mentioned, that would be me. She passed a lot of that anxiety on to me. And, but my mom was like, call me anytime, I'll always answer my phone. It's totally fine, whenever you want to. And I really took that to heart. It would be like 2 or 3 in the morning, Daddy, right? Phone would ring. She'd be like, hello. Like, she'd just been up, hanging around. Everybody knows my mom's greeting on the phone's always very perky. And even in the middle of the night, she would do the same. She would literally make things up. Like, oh, you're fine. I bet you just ate something at dinner and you have a little gas. Take a Tums. It could be something really serious, like appendicitis. She'd be like, I think, you know what? I saw something the other day, and I think that that's just a little. And we would believe her. No problem. Even in her last days, her hands were pretty swollen, and she was like, I think I just laid on my hand funny. Like, no, you have heart failure. Your hands are swollen for a reason. Oh, no, I think I just had them tucked under funny. She was an optimist. Everything was fine. And she made us all believe that, too. And I know she did the same for her really good friends sitting here. And she was very comforting to everyone. She loved her kids. She loved her grandchildren. She loved when Sarah moved back here with her family. And she, I think, lived a lot longer than she believed she would when she was so sick, because of the life that her children brought to her. She loved seeing the boys, and it really meant so much to her whenever the twins and Owen would come over. It was just really special. And even watching them give my dad big hugs, it just was, I think, the highlight for her. And so, Sarah, thank you for moving home. And I know Mom got so much joy from having you just a few streets away. It really made everything so wonderful for her. The last thing I want to talk about real quick, I won't take up too much time. I had a couple more thoughts today in the shower. I had to jump out and write them down. My mom used to love to take us to the store, Letter Us. Everyone's shaking their head. You know, they would press on things. You could pick whatever you wanted. And my mom loved to have shirts made for each of us girls. I'm the big sister. I'm the littlest sister. I'm the middle sister? Something. But littler sister, right. We would have our names on our sleeves. I mean, she loved being a mom. And, you know, I had jotted down some notes about some of the other things that she did, as we all do in our life. We try different things. My mom did try to work in a couple different jobs. And we kind of joked the other day, what was her profession? She was a mom. And she was the best damn mom. She loved us so much. That's all she wanted to be. And she did it with a lot of gusto, even for not feeling very well for a lot of the time. She just got so much joy. She made us dinner every single night. She made my father dinner every night until probably a year ago. And she just really took care of us and nurtured us and turned us all into pretty nice people, I'd say. My father was so devoted to my mother, and I know everyone here knows that. They were quite a pair, and we really enjoyed watching the two of them together. They modeled such love for us, and she brought all of the brother-in-laws into the family with such love. She just loved having a big family, and my mom and dad really enjoyed all being together so much. And I just, want to make sure I acknowledge the fact that, Daddy, we really see how much you loved her and how you took care of her all the way through. And, that's very special and very rare. So thank you. The last thing I want to say is just like, maybe I said it was the last thing already, but I have one more thing. Just so typical of my mother. She took everybody in as if they were her, best friends. And there's two beautiful women sitting here today that were my mom's hospice care workers. And they really were only coming to our house for about a month. And I thought that they were moving in. I mean, my parents just fell in love. And I know it was mutual. And, Deb and Colleen are here. I just can't say enough about you two and how much it meant to my entire family that you were with us when Mom passed. You never left. And it was really, really something that, only someone like Elaine could command that kind of love, affection, attention, devotion. And she really felt it. We really felt it. And you're always going to be a part of our family. And, once you come in, you can't go back out. So thank you both so much. We really do love you. And I know Mom just loved you so much. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming and remembering my mom. She was just such a wonderful, special person. And, Mom, rest in peace. I have to wipe this off.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'm sure you'll agree with me that the tributes of family members, and at this time, It's always difficult for family members to speak, but these are the most poignant of tributes. They come from the heart, quite obviously, and they go to the heart. And I think I can speak for Cantor Sebo that we were moved as well by the warmth and directness and beauty of your presentations, both Rachel and Eli. O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. Will you please rise now for the El Mole Rachamim?
אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, עמסי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפך השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת רחל בת אברהם ושרה, שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תחי מנוחתה. ענה בך הרחמים אסתירך, בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותתרור בתרורך ימת נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום, אל נשכבה, ונאמר אמן.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Elaine Hibshman, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say together, Amen. We praise you, Judge of truth, who ordains death and summons us to life. Help us to feel your presence at this time so that we may declare that God is upright, our rock, in whom there is no unrighteousness. Adonai Natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal the divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under divine protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirit with abiding trust in you. As we now repeat the words that have been hallowed by our generations, the Kaddish, and as we say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon v'yomeichon v'chayedech al beit Yisrael, ba'agalav izman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam alamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us say together, Amen. Will you please be seated? I want to announce that Elaine's family will receive friends immediately following this service and until 4 o'clock this afternoon. They will receive friends at the home of Sarah and Scott Miller at 2988 Eaton Road in Shaker Heights. And the family requests that only those who have been fully vaccinated and who are willing to wear a mask are invited to come. We do very much appreciate your presence here this morning, which once again offers a great deal of comfort and support to the family. This concludes our service.
Concludes our service. We're going to ask people to return directly to your cars, please.